Hello and welcome to KJ's Kitchen. I am KJ. I'm 14 years a master fitness trainer, a fitness nutrition specialist, and most important to me, I'm a happy mom serving up healthy meals from my kitchen to yours every Wednesday here on Facebook on Get KJ Fit fan page. I'm also going to be airing these on IGTV, so check me out at Get KJ Fit. So today, as many of you know who have followed me, I am married to a Viking. Yes, so I love every time we get to go to Denmark. Even if it's not during the holidays, I feel like we feast as if it were a holiday. Now, we will be very blessed to get to Denmark this coming Christmas and spend a good 3 weeks with our family there. But I wanted to bring to you an amazing dessert. I mean, it's such an incredible dessert. I even think it could pass for a really delectable portion of a brunch even. Now, the reason this came up is because me and my family, my parents came into town and we went apple picking. So 'tis the season of surplus of apples, especially if you love to get your children or your family out to do apple picking. We went a little crazy. We picked and picked and picked some more, and we picked such a variety, and we ended up with a half bushel. I don't know what a half bushel was, but it's a big bag, okay? So when I heard half bushel, I saw the price, I was like, that's what I'm going for. And then I'm here with a ton of apples, much more than I could imagine just eating, even though we do eat a lot of apples in our family. So because I know in advance to bake with apples, you should have a tart apple, I did end up with a lot of Granny Smith. And I wanted to bring you a recipe today that you can use up a lot of those apples in a very healthy way. And I'm not just talking apple pie here. This is a traditional Danish dish called, I'm probably not going to say it correctly, so any of the Danish friends listening, they're like, what? Æblekage? Okay. Æblekage? It's apple cake. It's what the æble is apple. Æblekage, K is cake. Now, it's not quite a cake at all. That's why I get really excited about this. It's actually more like a trifle. So it's layers and it is a lot of apple and just apple. So it's not heavy when you think cake. It's not going to be a bread dough cake thing at all. So step into my kitchen and let's get going. I'm starting off with just a regular saucepan. I already heated up my butter. Put it on the pan when I realized I like to do things in real time, but today you're gonna see a couple things that have been prepped. Not intentionally, the butter has already melted because my stove was already hot. So 3 tablespoons of butter, definitely prefer grass-fed. Kerrygold is a favorite in our house. So start with your butter, and here's what we're gonna talk about, why this is gonna be a little healthier than a standard cake. I am doing a little bit of a KJ Kitchen variety to what is very traditional in Denmark. You would be reaching for breadcrumbs. Well, the KJ way, if at all possible, I have done this recipe with gluten-free instant oats and toasted those up, but I actually am going a little more traditional today. I am taking out the gluten though, and we're going gluten-free breadcrumbs. If you're not familiar, this is by 4C, and literally, these are the ingredients. Rice flour, raisin juice, concentrate, honey, and salt. Very simple, it's rice. So we're gonna go with a cup of gluten-free breadcrumbs. Okay, so typically in a cake, you are reaching for flour, right? So, and usually a lot of flour, a couple cups of flour. We're doing 1 cup of breadcrumbs in the entire cake. And we're going to bring in immediately into this the sugar. I'm just getting this all toasted is what I'm doing. Stirring it up and toasting it up. Now, I often love to use sugar alternatives, and I usually reach for coconut palm sugar. But in this actual component of the Æblekage. I'm really slaughtering it, I'm sure. I'm going for an actual just sugar, table sugar, and I'm using 1/3 cup. So if you've ever baked a cake at home, you know it's usually 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar. I mean, that's like minimal. So we're doing 1/3 cup into the entire dessert. That's not too shabby at all. Let me get my little crock out here. We don't use a ton of sugar, so I'm just gonna use this little guy. I think it's been sitting here for a while. Sugar doesn't go bad, right? And we're gonna do 1/3 cup of sugar. And I'm putting that right in there in the pan. The butter is already melted. You know, I painted this, oh no, more than a decade ago. Oh, could I even go as far back as like, does it have a year? I painted this 16 years ago. My little sugar bowl. You guys ever do those like pottery places where you get to paint your own pottery? Clearly I thought a sugar dish was pretty awesome. And that has been with me for 16 years. So yeah, stirring this up, I got my sugar and my breadcrumbs, and this is creating a crumble. So I know in America, we're used to something, a very popular dish called apple crisp. So this is not an apple crisp, but it reminds me of it because you've got the delicious apples with a little cinnamon touch, and then you've got a little bit of crisp going on, but like I said, it's more of a trifle. And you just want to get this toasted up. I got my heat on. I should have left it on when I realized I was melting here. You just want that to get golden. And I would even think a little more butter might even be better. So maybe even closer to 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm just gonna go grab a pad right here because I didn't have it on the counter. So I'm gonna get my butter going, a little bit more butter here, and get that a little heated up too, little action. Because I'm seeing it's a little dry. You want it to look a little wet. All right. While this is toasting up, get that butter melted. I'm gonna get that all stirred up. I'm gonna get a little pinch of salt. I think it really adds to the butter, number one. And anything sweet, I think a touch of salt is gonna bring forward the flavors, even when you are doing a sweet dish. So a little pinch of salt in there. All right, I'm gonna let that get toasty while I talk to you about the apple component of this Æblekage. It is apple compote, so very different than just apple sauce. So if you're not doing this from your apples you picked, you do want to find apple compote. Do I say that correctly? Is it a French thing? Compote? Apple compote. I don't know. I'm really the worst when it comes to that. So what I've done, this is nice and thick. Can you see that? And it's already cooled down. So like I had mentioned, I like to do everything in real time, but this would take too much time to cook down my apples, let them cool so I can show you this dessert. What I want to say is if you are doing this, you want to use Granny Smith apples. This is a tart apple. Granny Smith, I have 2 sticks of cinnamon sticks in it. I use some vanilla, Tahitian vanilla bean, like loose bean, and I just cooked it down with water and coconut palm sugar. So that's why it's nice and dark. My husband's not used to it looking this dark. He's like, it's a little brown, I don't know. And I was like, well, that's coconut palm sugar because that's the KJ Kitchen way. It's a non-glycemic spike when you're using coconut palm sugar, and you really aren't gonna taste a big difference in flavor. It is sweet still, it's just coming from a coconut instead of from sugar cane. All right, so that is gonna be happening possibly even in advance, even a day in advance or earlier in the day before you're making it, because you want the apple compote to be room temp. You don't want it to be too hot when building this. It is a cold dessert, have you? Get this pan a little hotter here. And you're gonna start to smell the flavors meld together. The butter, the sugar, start to smell that going on. Got that toasting up. We're just toasting breadcrumbs. And the next element going into this are almond biscuits. The best thing I can find here, I get these from a store called Ingles, is called amaretti. They're actually little, I would assume Italian based on the word amaretti. Yes. All right, I did it. Italian little cookies that are almond. Think amaretto. But I'll actually leave you a recipe. If you don't have access to something like this in a specialty store, you can make these yourself with almond paste. They are sweet. These crunchy, airy little cookies. You can hear the crunch, right? And they're really good. You're gonna use about 3 ounces. This whole bag was 7, maybe around a half bag, right? Here comes my butter. I can smell it. I can see it. I don't want her to burn, so I'm gonna toss her around a little. Oh yes, here comes my golden, oh, the smell. You can smell it now. That butter is really going to work now. Got a little dark in one area because I was too busy talking to you and munching on cookies. So what I love about this dessert is it is not overly sweet. Already I explained to you I use coconut palm sugar in my, knock her down a little, coconut palm sugar in my apple compote. And now, you're not gonna get away with these little cookies being, you know, sugar-free. But like I mentioned, they're the crumble. I'm actually taking them in my hands and crushing them. It's fun. If you have children involved, get them involved, get crushing. You can see I am not even getting a little, I'm letting them dust, right? So this is breadcrumbs and amaretti cookies, little almond cookies. So when I can imagine this, and literally guys, we're almost done. This is pretty much the whole recipe here. When I imagine this is like if you were going to eat just applesauce or eat yogurt, but you like to top it with a little granola or something. It has that kind of feel. And that's kind of why I said, even though it's a dessert, it reminds me that it could be a really, really nice addition to a brunch. I mean, like it's a good display too, let alone the flavors are really awesome. Okay, almost done with my cookies. Maybe I went a little excessive on the cookies, but you know, it was 3.5 ounces is half that bag, and if I said, hey, let's do 3 ounces, what's another cookie? When we're dealing with dessert. So I love to lead a balanced lifestyle. So when it comes to living gluten-free, it's a majority for us. But these cookies, if I were making them myself, I can make them gluten-free. And actually the recipe I'll share is gluten-free. These actual cookies that I grabbed at the market, I read they do have some wheat flour in them. So all I'm doing now, I'm cutting the heat off. Once I've stirred in the cookie, the heat's done. I don't really want to cook the cookie. I wanted to toast those breadcrumbs, get them toasty. And I'm just gonna stir them in together, get the cookies well mixed in. And I don't want this to be hot either, and right now it is. So I'm actually gonna place them. Boop, boop, boop. Pan got too hot. Here I was trying to rush it, and I got a really hot pan. See a couple hot spots. Get a little gold, extra gold in there. Was it black even? I don't know. Extra golden, that's a better way to stay, right? It may have burned a little on the bottom. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. Nice and well mixed, crumbly. Smells sweet and buttery. It smells so good. I'm just gonna place this, moving my stuff back, place this on a plate. literally just to cool down. If it stays on the pan, it's gonna keep staying hot and it might even keep cooking. So I'm gonna put her on a plate just to cool her down. Bunch of crumbs, guys. That's really what we did. Cookie crumbs. I mean, this is so good. Okay, there you go. So here's what you do. When you're gonna be making this, we usually do this. I know they do it around holidays. My husband loves it, so even if we're there and it's summer or just an off month where there's no holiday, his mom goes to work. Anne-Marie goes to work at making this for him, as well as coleslaw, which I will have to bring to you sometime in KJ's kitchen because it is divine. And I haven't made it on my own. I just love to enjoy it every time in Denmark. So it will get me cooking in the kitchen. While these cookie crumbs are cooling, we're going to make a fresh whipped cream. Now, traditionally in America, or at least how I've grown up, you add sugar into the whipped cream. Well, not the Danish way, or at least the way my husband's family makes their whipped cream. So we are going to, if you follow me, you know I go organic as best as I can. Organic heavy whipping cream. This one comes from Trader Joe's. We're gonna go with 1 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna measure her out. 1 and 1/4. Lovely. There we go. Getting it in a nice size bowl because it can get very messy. And I have done this for like ever. And this might be a KJ thing, not necessarily a Danish thing, but it's awesome. I use my Tahitian vanilla. Just a little vanilla. This came from vanilla beans. You know, like you can buy a vanilla bean and scrape out the vanilla little flecks. That's just a lot of it all at once. Just a pinch will do. Boop, little pinch there. Oh, it smells so good. The vanilla will naturally sweeten the cream. No sugar involved. All I'm doing is putting this with a whisk whip. I'm whipping it with my hand mixer. It's gonna get a little noisy in here, but I want this to get nice and thick. Whipped cream with like peaks. So hang tight while I make a little noise. Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna get a spatula so I can work down the sides. And I'm gonna take the speed up a bit, not only to accelerate the process, but it's going to get it stiffer. Stiffer quicker, here we go. I'm wearing black. I'm wondering if I'll be polka dotted by the time it's done, just from splashing cream. Oh, I see it. It's splashing away. Time here in my kitchen. Whipped cream is not the fastest, but it's so much healthier than buying something like Cool Whip. We did grow up on Cool Whip, don't get me wrong, but I learned when I learned about nutrition and the need of whole food, I avoid all that crap filled with crap, right? It's getting there. We're almost there, guys. I feel like I need to like get a groove on. Get your groove on. Oh yeah. She's looking pretty now. Get nice and thick. I wish the camera recipe right over the bowl. You can see how beautiful it is. Yep. Cream the flying. We did it. Cream went a flying. It's nice and stiff. I'm like, oh, oh, oh. Yeah, here we go. See that? Nice and thick cream. Here we are. So now we get to your options of presentation. Now you would see this if you just looked up Æblekage, you would see small dishes of it, but the way it's always served in my husband's family is in one dish that would be placed on the table and passed around, and people take their serving from it. Today's recipe is around 4 servings, and they're pretty substantial servings. So I'm going to show you the traditional way that I am aware of, and we're going to start with the apple compote at the bottom. Always choose a clear dish because it's going to be beautiful, and you want to be able to see all those layers. So first I'm just going to take these cinnamon sticks out that I have in there. So good because it's tart. There's a little bit of cinnamon from that cinnamon stick that's been stewing in there. The vanilla, the Tahitian vanilla that I used in the whipped cream just now, I also put a touch of that into my apple compote. So you have very, very light hint of vanilla. Not overly sweet at all. Sweet with a zing, that little like sour apple. Okay, watch me load her up. Here we go. Get a nice size. You see this apple? A little slightly chunky. Oh, so different than applesauce, guys. So when you're doing this, if you're not gonna cook down your own apples, you better find a company or a jar of some apple compote that is beautiful as this, right? So rich. Of course, the brown is from the coconut palm sugar. If you're using regular sugar, which I don't recommend, it would not be as dark. Now I'm going in for a layer, and I mean layer, of the cookie crumbs. So let me get a little hand on this. Choo-choo, for real. These crumbs. No joke. Beautiful. Loading it up. You'll see these layers come through. Let's see if that looks thick enough. Get a little bit more on here. And to make it, you know, really pretty for presentation, I like to kind of turn the bowl and make sure it looks even with the crumbs. It's not high on one side and lower on the other. There we go. See layer number 1, compote and crumbs, right? Going in again for another layer of the apple. And it doesn't take a ton of layers. It maybe is like, I think it's maybe 3 layers of apple, right? So you would possibly, when looking this up, you'd look up Danish apple trifle maybe. I will have the spelling of Æblekage on the actual comments. I will post what that looks like written in Danish with the little Danish alphabet AE combo. I don't know what that's called. The worst Danish wife ever. I don't know Danish. You know, but hey, luckily my husband's perfect at speaking English, so we get along just fine. Here we go. Is that layer looking pretty? Just turn the bowl, making sure all the layers are looking pretty, because it is also about the presentation. Okay, going in for another layer of the cookie. Here we go. Watch for the last layer here. Like I said, I may have overdone the cookie itself when I was adding in cookie. So when you're doing this at home, you might choose a different, maybe less, maybe a bigger bowl. There we go. Beautiful. So beautiful. And wait till you taste it. I mean, it is beautiful presentation, but it also tastes amazing. There we go. Make sure my cookies are covered. Now, I recommend, only because this is how I know they do it in our family in Denmark, I recommend you pre-making this and then, and I pat it a little just to help with any air. Pre-make it so that the crumbs actually will collect some of the moisture of the apple and they're not just straight up crunchy. You would then, I'm just topping it with the last of the apple. Ooh, yes. And a little smearing it to the edges. I do think I could have stood a larger bowl, but my larger bowl is actually so large, it wouldn't have filled it up. So I wanted it to look really nice and layery, so I did choose the smaller bowl here. Get my last layer on of the apple compote. And I really still don't know if I say that correctly. I would love to hear from any of you. How do you say compote? Maybe that's just how you say it. All right, almost cleared out my pan. So good to use up all these apples, guys. We still have more to use, so keep an eye out. I'll come up with more apple fun very soon just to use up more of this half bushel I have. The last of the last. Don't leave any of this apple goodness behind. And here's the deal. The compote itself is divine on its own. So even if you really want to even avoid the layering and the crumbs altogether, pardon me as I enjoy this finger. If you want, yeah, I'm not touching any more food, so hey, it's all good here. If you want to avoid the crumbs altogether, the apple compote itself is so good. You could drizzle on heavy cream or even whipped heavy cream. And that's what we're going for now. Look at those layers. Is that beautiful? Beautiful. And what you would do is let that sit in the fridge. Cover it, do your thing, let it sit in the fridge. Bring out the whipped cream right before serving. So you just top it with the whipped cream because the layers of apple and crumb are going to start to work together and soften up the crumbs, make it divine, and then the flavors are gonna settle with each other as well. Put the whipped cream on at the end, dash it with some cinnamon. As I had said, that's how I'm used to seeing it and having it in Denmark, done in one dish, but you might see it online put into individual dishes, as I did prior to your arrival here in my kitchen. So you would top it with the whipped cream right before serving, but the layers have been sitting and they are, ooh, when you scoop it up, get a little bit of every layer in one bite. So good. I'm going for a second dip right now. Oh, it's so good. So good. I love the crumbs are sweet enough. It pulls away from the tartness of the apple. So you have this tart apple, you have sweet crumb, and you have non-sweet cream at the top. Just wrap it all up in a creamy, delicious bite. It is amazing. So I hope today served you in some way. Hope, you know, with Thanksgiving around the corner, what an amazing alternative to traditional apple pie, right? This could really wow your guests, your family, and they're like, what is this? You're like, it's Danish. We learned it at KJ's Kitchen. If you're not subscribed to my email, you better use that link that's showing up in the comment fields below so that you can get this recipe to your inbox, and every week a new KJ Kitchen recipe right to your inbox. And guys, I'm only here to share the word of health, balanced living, longevity, realistic living. You know, it's not about 20 steps. It's about really just, you're gonna eat the cake, choose a lighter cake. You know, you're gonna enjoy life, choose a couple tweaks that are just gonna make you feel better and your family feel better in the long run. Okay, thank you so much. I will see you again next week, Wednesday, here in KJ's Kitchen. And thank you. Share the love, tag a friend, put this on your wall, guys. I really appreciate all of your support. Take care. Have a wonderful Wellness Wednesday.